Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Megan Dauber podcast. I am Megan, and I am so grateful that you were with me again today. This is episode 10. Episode 10 in the storytelling journey of what I've been through, what my family is going through. If you are listening along on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, would you just real quick do a 5-star review? Doing a 5-star review helps me grow this show. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. I love seeing your comments. I love reading, whether it's encouragement or your own stories. Like, I see them all. I read them. It's just me running this. I do all of the editing and the production. So all the notifications come straight to me. And it is really encouraging in the wee hours of the night when I have quiet time to myself and I am processing, like, how is this going? Is this worth doing? Do I want to keep going? When I get to read the things that you share with me, it's like this affirmation of, yes, this is great. Even for the one person that just wrote that, I will share again and I will keep going. So thank you. And go ahead and do that 5-star rating because it really does help me. So today our setting is the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia, this acute rehab hospital where Michael has been sent to begin seeing how much we can heal from this brain injury. Now, our days here are all about the therapy. Like, he is now pretty much heart healthy. They're monitoring it at the hospital next door. He's got his defibrillator in. His other systems have bounced back well. They're constantly taking blood work. I think like once a week they did blood work to check on levels in the kidney, levels in the liver. Like, how's this going? Is it healing? And he is progressing really nicely physically. So now it is all about this darn brain injury and how are we going to help him recover from this? So we have, again, we have occupational therapy, we have physical therapy, we have recreational therapy, we have speech therapy, and some other fun things included because just we're living in the hospital 24/7. So this point in his journey, his speech therapist, Alexis, is able to start getting really specific to target his memory. We've cleared him as far as eating. So he's been upgraded to, no longer eating pureed foods. He is able to eat some softer and more solid foods. And that happened pretty quickly. Oh, you know what is funny? We added hot sauce. We started bringing Texas Pete with his lunch that was delivered. And that's something that Michael has always done, was add hot sauce to his food. So at one point I was like, oh, you know what? Let's add hot sauce to whatever it is he's eating, his scrambled eggs, his meat, his potato, whatever it was, add the hot sauce and that'll get him to eat more. Because again, we were wanting to give him more calories. Like, he needed it for his health and his brain regrowth, but he wasn't eating very much. So we started adding hot sauce and it worked. So yay, thank you, Texas Pete. But in speech therapy now, we were focusing on cognition and memory. So I will absolutely share some of these videos that I have, but you'll have to watch on Instagram. Hop over to @Megan Dauber Podcast on Instagram to see these videos of Alexis going through the motions with Michael in therapy. It's fascinating to watch his memory struggle. I mean, I say that just all honestly, like, struggle to keep up, struggle to remember what they just talked about. And it's fascinating to just see how it wasn't working and then how it gets better over time. But I will share some of these videos. So it is a lot of her and Michael sitting down at the table together, and she'll begin with questions, all right, Michael, what day is it? And he's supposed to learn to use cues to help him find the day, which is the same thing that we all do. If we don't know, we look at the calendar or we look at our phone. Sometimes it does take us a minute to remember what day of the week it is. So she is sitting at the table with him in all of these sessions and going through hey, do you know where you are? And he'll be like, no. And she'll say, okay, are you in a hospital? Are you in a school? Are you in a hotel? And eventually he gets to the point where he's like, I guess the hospital. And she'll say, do you know why you're here? And he'll say, no. And she'll say, well, you have a brain injury. And Michael goes every time, a brain injury? What brain injury? And then Alexis begins to talk through the scenario of what happened. I have some videos of Michael struggling to recall names like of our kids. So she'll say, who is this lady over here? He'll say slowly, it's Megan. Like he knows me. He just is searching for the word Megan or the name Megan. And he'll affirm that it's his wife. And then she'll say, how many kids do you have? And in one of these videos, he goes, we have 4. And you can kind of hear me be like, okay. And he's like, we have 4, right? And he looks over at me and I'm like, no, we have 3. And he's just like, huh? And so then Alexis helps him begin to name the 3 children that we have. And he needs help coming up with the name Carmen. So she gives him 3 options. But when he hears the name Carmen, he picks it. Yes, it's Carmen. So he's familiar with it. He just cannot produce it on his own. And then he was unable to get Brooks and Ryland on his own. He's unable to spell certain words. There's a video where he's trying to spell hospital and injury, and he just can't remember how to spell it. So just some very basic skills that are missing at this point. One of the tools that Alexis began to use to help him was this memory booklet. So she would sit at the table with him with paper and they would go through what happened. So she would draw a picture of a brain and be like, this is the brain. This is what it does. And then she would write out the narrative. I was playing soccer, and she would talk through with Michael. So he's now, the idea is it's this booklet showing him what he needs to relearn about himself. And we called it Mike's memory support. And this was to be a tool that he was supposed to use to identify what day of the week it is, what he did this morning, what happened to him, where he is. And he was supposed to refer to it whenever things got confusing, which was anytime anybody asked him a question. So this memory book, I have our final iteration of it. It was basic, just this cute little booklet, and it has pages in it. I'll post a picture on Instagram if you're only listening to the audio of this, but it would have his daily schedule. So the date would be on the top, and his list of activities that he would do that day would be what they would follow. Each therapist at the beginning of therapy would open this and say, okay, so you already had breakfast and got dressed, and at 8:30 you did this, and at 9 a.m. physical therapy began, and they would check it. He would have to check it off as he went, just to start establishing structure in his routine. And it was a surprise to him every time. He would sit down and he would say, well, I didn't do physical therapy. And, might be his occupational therapist. She'd say, well, actually you did. You went down to the gym with Christine. And he'd be like, who's Christine? So again, each of these therapists, every time they come in the room, they're reintroducing themselves to him, which he has now seen them every day, sometimes twice a day, in the hallway passing, but every time they reintroduce themselves, and it's like it's the first time they've met. Every time they ask him, do you remember meeting me yesterday? And he'd say no. So goodness, it was so wild to watch. But this memory support book, he had his first initial book. He lost it like 8 times, would either lose it, or remember how I said he would go on a trash rampage and throw things in his room away. If I was not watching him, he would throw this darn book away. He'd be like, I don't need this, and chuck it in the trash can all the time. And sweet Alexis was like, I have to make another book because we've lost his memory book. And finally, at the very end, there's like this big Shepherd Center, 2nd floor, room 222, so that if Mike lost it around the hospital, people could return it because they were so tired of trying it over and over again, which, they were good sports about it, but it became a joke that Mike could not remember his memory book. It just was a whole thing, but super helpful tool to refer back to what he needed to relearn. Another video I will share, when she asks what town he lives in, he can't produce the name, but also he doesn't think he's from Virginia Beach. Like, she gave him a couple examples, and it took him a long time to say Virginia Beach is home. He didn't believe it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he was like stuck in a certain age mindset, and therefore he thought we were in another place in Virginia or somewhere else entirely. I don't know, but he didn't recognize Virginia Beach. He did not recognize our address. I would say the address, and he's like, what even are you telling me? And this is the real kicker. I would show him a picture of our home that at that point we'd lived in for 8 years. And he would look at it. He would say, that's not our home. And I'd be like, I'm sorry, this is our home. And he would, it was kind of funny because sometimes he was like, that's ugly. That's not my home. And wow, like, I'm like, you're not wrong. It's not the prettiest house in the world, but it is our home and I love it now. He didn't believe it. He didn't recognize the home. He didn't recognize Virginia Beach, didn't recognize the address. It was weird. But he recognized me. He knew that I was his wife and he knew that we had 3 to 4 children. When I say these days kind of all looked the same, they really did. We were doing the same thing over and over. I mean, physical therapy is probably the best example of how he grew kind of daily. He was quickly able to walk on his own without help. He was quickly able to start lifting weights in the gym again. Now he started at basics, but then they were working on balance and working up to getting him to be able to run again, run around the track, or at least walk. And we would monitor his heart the whole time to make sure that his heart rate didn't get above a certain level, because also we don't want the defibrillator going off. So I'll tell you more about that as we get home. But each day looked very much the same. So about the middle of the month, there was a full care team meeting with his whole team of doctors and therapists and everybody involved in his case and myself. And we zoomed in Michael's older brother, John, because again, he's a doctor and he was really helpful to be a listening ear and know what question to ask and someone else to absorb the information that I was being given. So at this meeting, with the whole care team for Michael, we sat in the conference room. Michael was not there. They went over where Michael had come from, where he was now, and where we can expect him to go in the future, just to kind of give me a whole picture of our current reality. And the doctor said, he is very much a classic case of an anoxic brain injury, with the exception of his physical recovery, which is really great, which I was so grateful for, that I was not pushing him around in a wheelchair. We weren't going to have to remodel our home. I was going to be able to bring him back with minimal changes to the structure of our home, if anything. And what a praise. I was so grateful for that. However, he was profoundly confused. And at this time, the doctor is saying, 5 weeks in, and we're not seeing much progress in his memory and cognition. You can kind of expect this to be a problem going forward. Now, the scale of what that means, nobody can tell you. Nobody can predict, is this the new norm, or will there continue to be healing? But he also was educating me on the difference between traumatic brain injuries and anoxic brain injuries. And with traumatic brain injuries, they have a much longer runway of recovery, is what I was told, that you can continue to see healing and progress over a very, very long time. But with anoxic brain injuries, what they have found is it's a much shorter healing runway, meaning what they told me is you kind of, in the first 6 months of the anoxic brain injury is when you see the most healing. And after that, you've kind of reached what your new normal is. Now I'm sitting there in March, like doing the math, like, okay, March, April, May, June, July, August. Great. So we have till August. Which was kind of a terrifying parameter for me to start thinking about this in terms of, oh my gosh, we've got 6 months now. In this one meeting, we also discussed what medications they'd like to start trying. There are some medications that can help with cognition, and here's how he would like to begin approaching trying it out. And now we wanted to try it out while we were in the hospital so that, we have the care team in the hospital at Piedmont right next door if anything didn't go well with his heart, because some medications are not compatible with cardiac patients. So we wanted to test these things where we could do, I don't think it was daily EKGs, but we would start this new medication and they would take EKGs and watch his heart rate to see what it would do while on the medication. So it felt safe to discover this while we were there at Shepherd's. So that was part of our care plan. And then the what I can expect when we leave here. Like, there were options. Does Michael stay longer? Does he stay at Shepherd Center for the outpatient program? Does he go to an entirely new facility for long-term care? Does he go home? And if we go home, I should be expecting 24/7 supervision of him, high safety precautions, locking away car keys, locking away money, locking away house keys, the computers, like getting that out of sight because Michael did not have an accurate picture of reality and it was not safe. And he had no idea that it wasn't safe. So like, these are the kinds of things that they're kind of setting me up for what life will be like at home. And that was a lot to think through. Like inside the walls of this hospital, I was dealing with Michael day to day. And it was very much that acute care focus. Like, okay, what can we progress in today? How can we get you to sleep better today? How can we get you better to eat? How can we get you to eat better today? But when we had this meeting and they were prepping me for what home life was like, to take this scenario outside the walls of the hospital and put them into our home life, I got pretty scared. And what they weren't saying, but I was reading between the lines, is like, this man is not working again. Like, he cannot go back to work. So who's going to go back to work? How are you going to provide for your family? Who's going to be here to help you? Because you also, Megan, have 3 children and have to manage the household. You have to keep things running. You have to watch him. And somewhere in there, you also have to care for yourself, because caretaker burnout is a real thing. So this load is stacking up on me mentally and emotionally. And it was pretty hard. Like, I had some good cries, because as I will share in upcoming episodes a little bit more about our job and career choices, like there was a lot going on behind the scenes that I was kind of ignoring while I was in the hospital. But like, oh no, this is a full stop. This is pushing the eject button on everything we're doing. I'm not sure I can handle this. So things were getting scary. So back to this idea of this 6-month runway. What that did in my mind was think like, if that's true, then we need to do all we can in the next 6 months. I need to be an advocate for him. I need to fight as hard as I can, because I want him back. I want his mind back. I want him working. I want him living his fulfilling life that he loved living. And it became this like race for me of, okay, so it intensified every single day that I was there at the Shepherd Center with him. And it intensified my plan going forward. And okay, how do we set this up for success? Where can I find the best therapists and the best doctors? And just this whole, like, I had this burden of, well, we're going to do what we can do, because if we truly only have 6 months, that's terrifying. And one of the things I wish I had known then that I have been learning now is just this concept of, it's not actually up to me. Like, it is not mine to control. And I didn't think of it that way. I was desperately, as his family member, sitting there in the hospital, having just been through all of the scariness with him, I was desperate to control something, desperate to have answers, desperate to do the best we could with the information we had to affect change in Michael. And that's a really fine line to walk, because the reality is, it's like, the healing doesn't depend on us. The healing doesn't depend on the doctors. Like, that belonged to the Lord. And it belonged to the way the Lord set up the healing of the human body. And Michael's brain, we know rest and time and proper nutrition and therapy, tools like therapy, do help, but we can't force the healing. There's nothing that we as humans can do. And I had this mindset that a lot could be done, and it wasn't very restful. And now another interesting thing, Michael pre-accident was very much of that mindset too. It's like, okay, well, we are high performing, high achieving individuals. We do a lot. When he was in the hospital at Shepherd's with me, there are a lot of conversations that I had with him where he would just be kind of sitting in his seat and be like, we need to do something. There's a lot There's a lot for us to do right now. And I kept trying to get at the source of where that was coming from. My response to him would always be, well, no, actually, Michael, we don't have anything to do right now. We get to rest and relax here. And I suspected he just had this like intuitive feeling of I need to be doing something right now, which is the way we were operating prior to this accident. Like work was a lot. We had to hustle. Things were demanding. If we're not working, we're not making money. Like this mindset of, well, the very opposite of rest. And I think that was, my guess is that's what was manifesting when he would be sitting in the hospital. We literally don't have anything to do in between therapy. And he's like, I'm not okay with this. This feels wrong. I should be doing something. I can only imagine there were hints of that in his mind. Like he went from bam, everything to all of a sudden nothing to do. And so my responses to him would be, well, no, we get to just sit and rest and relax. And that for me also felt really shallow for me to say that, because actually this was not restful and I didn't know how to relax here in the hospital. I was a mess inside, but I wanted to, what was best for him was to rest and relax. So I wanted to present that front, even though that's not how I felt at all. I just had this illusion of control, like pre-accident and clearly now post-accident, while I'm dealing with trying to figure out how to get him healing, this illusion of control. And the illusion of control, meaning we think we are so in control of all areas of our life, but like we're really not. And we're called to release our burdens and to surrender them to the Lord and to trust that He is working and that He has us in the palm of His hand and He knows how the story is going to unfold. So our job is to do the next right thing that's in front of us. And He, the Lord, like desires that we as His children understand what rest means. And I don't think I did have this concept of rest. So here I am into like forcing rest. He has to rest in the hospital to heal. And I am beginning to battle these thoughts in my head of no, do more, do more, do more. But looking back, I realized this is the beginning of the Lord reminding me like to be still and know that I am God. Like the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. And being still in the middle of a battle, doesn't that feel backwards? However, like that's exactly where the Lord wants us. He wants us to be able to be still and to let Him carry the burden for us because He's the one in control. He sits on the throne, not me. I say that all the time. The Lord is on the throne. And I need to remind myself that I am not in charge. He is my Heavenly Father and He loves me. And I believe that He will care for me. If His eye is on the sparrow, I know He's watching me, right? If He dresses the lilies of the field are beautiful, every flower is beautiful, He knows exactly what they need. How much more is He going to care for His children? And the birds, the animals, all of creation, they don't strive. They don't strive. They just exist because they know their Creator provides. Why are we exempt from that? We're not. Like we are meant to allow the Lord to do the work, and we are to rest and still fulfill our responsibilities. Like I still have the responsibility to care for Michael, to get him good therapy, to, set up a home where he can sleep well at night and eat well and have relaxation and try to let his brain heal. But I can't do any of that healing. Michael can't do any of that healing. And none of the therapists and doctors can do the healing. Like the body has to do it. And I wish I had known that because I was very frantic. And then over for the next few months, like that's how I was learning, but also frantically operating. Like this is a lot of on my plate. Like what more can I do? How can I help him? We can't just sit here and let him waste away. But I don't know if any of this makes sense. I'm just sharing like what I wish I had known about this part of the journey, which I can imagine is kind of how a lot of people in rehab hospitals feel. A lot of us who are caretakers and the family members of the patients, and even those patients who are cognitively aware of what happened to them. Like it feels backwards to be patient. It feels backwards to wait. But that's where the healing happens. And it's not always on our timeline, as we have seen. But my job is to trust the Lord. And my job is to be still and know that He is God. And my job is to take care and love everyone around me. And man, did I get to practice that with Michael. So I will pick up with more of our time at Shepherd's in the next episode. But I appreciate you joining me. And I hope that this made sense and is in some way encouraging or helpful. I don't have all the answers. I'm just sharing with you what the Lord is teaching me as I go through this. And surrendering the control feels way better than grasping and keeping your hands closed, tightly wound around control. Like letting go feels so much better. We can lay our head down at night and sleep because we are held by a God who doesn't have to sleep. He never sleeps, but He designed us to be able to rest and lay our head down at night, knowing that we can't do anything. We need to sleep. He's at work. He's got it. So I hope that you can take that away today and know that you are allowed to rest and you are designed to rest in whatever you have going on. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.